I hereby call this meeting of the Nevada City Planning Commission to order. We acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still here among us today. They're nearly invisible. We understand that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people, as well as their campaign to restore federal recognition. And please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Thimmen? Here. Commissioner Nye?
Here.
Commissioner Hatami?
Here.
And Chair Brown?
Here.
And Vice Chair Cobden is absent tonight, for today.
Okay, I will now open up to public comment. We now will take any comment on items not on the agenda, if you'll have any comment.
No, I have a project
Okay, great.
coming up.
I do see one public comment on here, Lisa. Was there something specific? Do you want to cover that?
The public comment that we received was from Pamela Meek in regards to the ADU height ordinance proposed change. And she says that she believes that going from 16-foot high max to a 20-foot high max.
Or should we just save that for that item?
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds fine.
That was the only one, though. There was nothing, the one that was referenced on here. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Next is the consent calendar. Is there anyone in the commission, staff, or in the public that would like to remove any items from the consent calendar?
No. I move to approve the consent calendar.
All right, we have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. The first item then is architectural review at 212 South Pine Street. And is the applicant
You
here?
might have the wrong.
Oh, sorry, am I looking at it again? I am looking at the minutes from the last meeting. Let me scroll down. Or scroll back up, I should say.
400 South Pine Street is today's, correct?
Yes.
South
Yep.
Pine was last meeting.
But the other, there's a new
But we do
south.
have-
He's
well-
talking about the other one.
That will come up after
The shed.
Oh, yes, the garage.
the first item is public hearing in consideration of ordinance 2025-06, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, et cetera. All right, Lisa, hand that to you.
Okay, thank you, Chair Brown. Okay, so the item before you today is for a request for consideration of increasing the max allowed ADU height from our current code reads as 16 feet, and the proposal is for 20 feet. The standard was adopted in 2020 as part of an ordinance change for ADUs, and it was a reaction to all of the state level laws that were coming through and that were passed between 2017 and 2019. The city subsequently in 2022 adopted our objective design standards, and I can go over those in a moment, explain what those are. But for context, the reason that I'm bringing the ordinance to the commission is because I see that there's a conflict between our objective standards and the 16-foot height max limit as far as the ability to construct buildings that are more in line with our objective standards. So also in the ordinance, we have a change to the part for the ADUs over a garage. Multifamily currently reads that 35 foot high is acceptable, but our code reads that 21 feet high over a garage is the max. So we're proposing an increase to that to be 35 feet, and then never to exceed the height of the primary structure. And then on, actually this reads that multifamily properties, garage top ADUs are further restricted to 25 feet. So that's actually the one that we are requesting to change to 35 feet.
So just the multifamily zone.
Yes. So the combination of the roof pitch requirement with the 16-foot height limitation has resulted in designs that don't reflect this Nevada City traditional or motherlode architectural character. And I'll do my PowerPoint here in a moment, and you'll see an example of that. So I will go ahead and start with that. And then also of note, I'll come back to this of note, section 17.72.027 in your staff report. I'll come back to that after the presentation. Okay, so I'll just sort of walk through the thought process and what I've seen as far as applications and why this ordinance is coming to you. Next slide, please. You can just hit with the arrow, I guess. This one. Yeah, we'll just do it manually.
Do it down.
It's not working. Okay, stop share. And then go to the PowerPoint.
Right here, down here.
Yeah, down there. Okay, and then go ahead and click that. Okay, and then go ahead and go to the share on your Zoom.
Okay. My Zoom.
Back.
Right here. Share.
And then share that one,
Okay.
and then go click that. Let's see if that works. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, like I said, our current code was adopted in 2020, which set the max height at 16 feet. That's in our ADU ordinance. A few applications, I have many on here, but really it's only been a few, have come through the Planning Commission that would otherwise have been ministerial. And so in an effort to provide flexibility for people who want to build a second unit, we are considering increasing the height to 20 feet for a standalone unit and 35 feet for and above the garage. So to explain how we calculate the max height, you'll see this building here is built on a slight slope. So the stem wall is an average from one section, from the building on the right-hand side to the left-hand side, it would be an average. So it looks like it's about a foot on that right-hand side and maybe 9 feet on the left-hand side. So it would be an average of 5 feet for this building. So it'd be 5 feet plus the 8-foot wall height plus the height of the roof to the top of the gable. So our objective design standards are Chapter 17.82 of the Municipal Code. They define building design requirements, roof styles, specifically the roof pitch, ensuring that ministerially approved projects are 6 and 12 or greater pitch. They also have specifications for siding materials and profiles and also window styles. And those were adopted by ordinance in 2022 at the request of the commission. So here's a graphic that shows what different roof pitches look like on buildings. So on the left-hand side, 6 and 12 is more of a shallow pitch, but still meets the standard because it's not so flat that it looks real modern. And then as you go up, an 8 and 12 is also a common pitch. And then on mother lode buildings or that sort of architecture, 10 and 12 and 12 and 12 are both common as well. So this new build here on the bottom left looks to me like it's about an 8 and 12. This classic mother lode cottage on the bottom right appears to me as maybe a 9 and 12 or potentially a 10 and 12. And then this home on the upper right here, which is on Uren Street, is probably an 11 and 12 and maybe a 12 and 12. I didn't verify that, I'm just guessing. These are all currently on Zillow. So here's a project that did come through the Planning Commission for site plan review, although I did process the actual building ministerially. This was on, the address is Nimrod Street, but it's actually accessed off of Clay Street. So you'll probably remember Marty Crossman coming in for this. So you'll see that his building is basically built on grade, and the height of that building is 13 feet 9 inches. And I don't have the width, but you can see that it's a pretty skinny building. And part of that is he wanted to build a small unit that was easily constructible. And the other part of it was that he wanted his building to meet the max height and not come to the commission for the design review. And then you saw this project a few months ago on Grove Street.
Please, just go back to the other one. What was the pitch on that roof?
That is a 6 and 12.
6 and 12.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. So that gives you an idea of the look of the 6 and 12. And then when Dave Mann came to me with this application, he originally had it designed at a steeper roof of like a 10 and 12, I think. And so he met in the middle between 6 and 12 and 10 and 12 and decided on an 8 and 12 roof. This building at the front is 18 feet, and then at the rear is just over 20 feet. And like I said, that's an 8 and 12. So stem wall foundations, you probably saw in your staff report the exhibit that shows different configurations of how the average of the grade ends up affecting the max height of the building. So there are benefits of stem wall foundations. They require less grading. They can be built in more locations, so maybe a lot might have challenges for having equipment go in a place where the building was going to be built. And maybe it's not as ideal for a certain steeper lot or lot that has a slope to be graded flat for a slab. Ease of construction, less expertise involved with building process. I feel like for owner builder or more novice builders, stem wall foundations are beneficial. They don't have to figure out all of the plumbing right out of the gate or some of those other sorts of hardware changes that occur with a slab. Generally more flexible, and I do believe they're more historically relevant. Typically, carriage houses or accessory buildings were just built straight on the ground, not on a slab, and then houses were built up off of the ground. So this is our current standard with a 16-foot high maximum, with a 16 and 12 or a 6 and 12 roof pitch. You'll see that with a 3-foot average stem wall, which would be the best case on a flat lot, the max building width would be 20 feet. And then if it was a slight slope and the average of 4-foot stem wall, the max width of a building that could be achieved is a 16-foot wide building. And then with a 5-foot wall, average stem wall, only a 12-foot wide building would be achievable. So with an 8 and 12 roof, you see that the problem is even more obvious. So with best case, again, 3-foot stem wall would only allow for a 15-foot wide building approximately. 4-foot would allow for a 12-foot wide building, and 5-foot would allow for a 9-foot wide building. So the 16 feet height limit was actually a number that came down from state law and was adopted in 2020 as one of the things that local jurisdictions could regulate. So we couldn't say, oh no, like we don't want the ADUs, like we're essentially required to adopt an ordinance or start to allow ADUs in all the ways that were compliant with state laws. And one thing that we were allowed to regulate was the height. So we wouldn't have been able to say no ADUs over 12 feet. The 16-foot height limit was the minimum. And so we just adopted that at that time. So the 16-foot height, why did they do that at the state?
Sorry, okay, I just want to clarify that. That minimum was set by the state.
That was the number that was the most restrictive that
Okay.
jurisdictions could adopt.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
We couldn't have said 14 feet or 12 feet because then that would have been contradictory, even more so to their laws.
But the state does allow jurisdictions to set up higher. Got
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
If I can throw something in here, just informationally,
Yeah.
I was part of the committee that developed some of these objective design standards. And the state law allows municipalities to create objective design standards or not. And I think other nearby cities opted not to do that. And just to do what we could to preserve the character of the city, it seemed important to institute that and then adjust them as needed later, because nobody was sure how much development under SB 9 would occur anyway. So
Yeah, thank you.
The standards are the same for SB 9 as they are for the ADUs? I mean,
that's a question for Lisa, but I assume we can't have two separate sets of objective design standards that pertain to an SB 9 project versus a regular ministerial accessory dwelling unit application.
Yeah, I'll get to that once I finish this, and then
Okay.
I'll go into that a little deeper. Because there are two pathways for people to be able to receive an approval. So there's one under our standard ADU ordinance, and then there's one under section 17.72027, which is more related to SB 9. Okay, so then I did add these two slides in because I thought they would be relevant for the commission, and they weren't in here until just today. So at 18 feet high maximum with a 6 and 12 roof, a 3-foot stem wall would allow for a 28-foot wide building. And then with a 4-foot average, would allow for a 24-foot wide building. With a 5-foot average, could get up to a 20-foot wide building. Then as you go steeper roof pitch, that number comes down. So with an 8 and 12 at 18 feet high, with a 3-foot stem wall, max would be 21 feet wide building. 4-foot stem wall, 18-foot wide building. 5-foot would be a 15-foot wide building. And then here is the 20-foot high. 3-foot allows for a very wide building, overly wide. I don't think designers would actually design that wide. And then 4-foot wide, 32-foot wide building, 5-foot average, 28-foot wide building. And then for an 8 and 12, 3-foot would allow for a 27-foot wide, 4-foot would allow for a 24, have 5 would allow for a 21-foot.
And just a quick question in there, and you've calculated with an 8-foot plate height, essentially, an 8-foot interior wall
Yes.
in all cases.
And it is an estimate. There could be like a raised heel truss in some instances, depending on the designs, that might change that by, up to a foot or 8 inches or so. So I didn't get to that level of detail.
Right, but it's calculated with the sort of normal 8-foot stud height.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in your exhibit, there's a few instances in there where we put in a 9-foot wall. And that was for the commission to see, if the ADU height was allowed to be slightly higher, it could allow for nicer buildings or interiors to be upgraded in that way, while also getting a little bit more for the roof. So pros and cons, more options and flexibility for owners that want to design with a historic aesthetic. I believe this little house on the right here is a 9 and 12 roof. More flexibility for nicer features like taller wall heights, potentially more neighborhood cohesion. More applications will be eligible for ministerial approval, and I want to touch on that some more later. And then the overall 4-foot height difference, if paired with a wide building, could be considered imposing in mass and scale to some, especially if built on a small lot. That would be a con. Okay, you can stop share. So to get back to the SB9 question, so I'll share my screen here. Okay. So this is our Chapter 17.7.2 Residential Development and Conditional Use Regulations, which is where our ADU ordinance lives. Within this, we have size maximums, and then we have development standards. This is the section that is proposed to be updated. And then down here, this is so this is where we talk about max height of 16 feet and specific things related to parking and other site development. And then the 17.72027 section is the SB9 ordinance. So this allows for and requires ministerial approval for SB9 projects that don't meet our standards. And the way that it reads is that we must approve units that are under 800 square feet, at least 2 of them. So 1 new detached ADU with a minimum 4-foot side and rear yard setbacks up to 800 square feet and no more than 16 foot high on a lot with an existing single-family dwelling. And then up here it reads, accessory dwelling units permits shall be approved for the following types of accessory dwelling units, regardless of whether the application meets the development standards contained in this Title 17. So this is the allowance that people could use if they wanted to not meet our objective design standards. Because in this case, we don't have to hold them to that. There is the 800 square foot max for the building on this provision, and there's also a requirement for deed restrictions to not do hosted short-term rental.
Sorry, could you clarify the difference between the two again?
Mm-hmm. So they're just 2 separate pathways.
Right.
So whenever somebody comes in and says, I want to build an ADU,
Yep.
I'm always like, okay, great, here's our objective design standards, what kind of ADU do you want? And I guide them in the direction of meeting our ADU ordinance. This is part of our ADU ordinance, but it's sort of like a separate pathway.
And is there any difference in the, I guess I was asking, is there, to clarify the difference in the design standards for those?
Yeah, so so the design standards are for like windows, roofing, siding, trim, all those sorts of things. Also, within our objective standards, there's a provision for windows and doors not being on the sides of the buildings that are utilizing reduced setbacks. So with ADUs, they can, people can build up to 4 feet from the property line. So that was written in with the objective design standards, is that windows and doors shouldn't be in those setbacks unless required for health and safety. So like a bedroom may still be required to have an egress window, but a bathroom, like, no, they're not gonna get their nice, bathroom window because it's within that setback. So essentially, there is an allowance for people to utilize this if they wanted to. They would be limited on size to 800 square feet. They would have to sign a deed restriction saying that they weren't gonna do short-term rental.
And if they don't do that path, what is their limitation on size?
If they don't do that path, the limitation on size is 1,000 square
It's
feet.
1,000, okay.
Yeah.
So on that path with an 800 square foot unit, let's see, taking that path, then there is no height restriction, so it could be like a 24-foot high, 800 square foot.
No, this
building.
one still has the height restriction.
Yeah,
So and that's not proposed to change. That is still proposed, that's still at 16 feet maximum.
And what's your thought on why you change one and not the other for the height limit?
Because we don't want to encourage people to use this provision. We want them to use our standard ADU ordinance and follow the objective standards.
Okay.
And I seem to remember, and clarify for me, that this path that you're discussing has let's see, it can also accompany a lot split, so to create 2 lots in R1 zoning.
Mm-hmm.
And the minimum lot size is 1,200 square feet, as I recall, according to SB 9. A minimum lot size of 1,200 square feet.
Yeah.
Just informationally, do you recall? It's in
Yeah.
SB 9.
I haven't read the text of the government code on it in a while, but our minimum lot size in our code is 10,000. So if a lot is proposed to be smaller than that, I think there's also a provision in the SB 9 that says that they should be somewhat equal in size. So we don't have any 4,000 square foot lots that are trying to split into 2. So that might apply in like a tiny city lot or something, but so far we haven't come across that. So I did process one split on Jordan Street, and yeah, they ended up splitting into almost equal sized parcels. Yeah.
Thanks.
So let's see if there's anything else here. And Jim, I know you asked for the number of ADUs that we've built since 2020, and I'm sorry I didn't have time to pull that data for you. But I will say it hasn't been a lot. It's been probably an average of 5 per year. And probably most of them were ministerial, I would venture to say. So I did want to also show the draft language. to switch over. Okay, so on page 40 of your packet, this shows the exact language of the ordinance that's proposed to be adjusted. So here in the introduction part of the ordinance, section B, so this is A through O. So section B would be a change to say up to two of either the following types of unit, provided that such a unit shall not exceed 20 feet in height, not to exceed the height of the primary residence. And then the part for the garage, and I'm sorry, this is specific to multifamily residential dwelling lots. So if there was a duplex on a lot and they wanted to build an ADU, and then the garage piece reads 35 feet in height or the height of the primary residence, whichever is less. And then down here within the regular part of the ADU, section I, accessory dwelling units shall not exceed 20 feet in height, not to exceed the height of the primary residence, unless constructed over a garage, in which case the ADU shall not exceed the height of the primary residence or 35 feet, whichever is less. So that's the only language that's proposed to change. No changes to our objective standards or otherwise. And then as I was thinking about this and talking to some of you, and I realized that a lot of the questions and the way that I was presenting it was based on, well, staff level review versus ministerial or discretionary planning commission review. And I did go and look, and as we're processing our projects that way as like a standard of procedure, our ordinance doesn't actually say anything about the ability for an ADU to be reviewed by the planning commission if there was a request for a different height allowance. So at a minimum, today I think that it would be good for the commission's recommendation to include some language around that. And after our discussion, I can share what I drafted up for that.
Sorry, could you repeat your request again?
Yeah, I'll actually just go ahead and share. So here, okay. So it should probably be considered to add I'm on the wrong one. So this shows a slight change. So accessory dwelling units shall not exceed, and then whatever height we come up with today, not to exceed the height of the primary residence unless approved by the planning commission or constructed over a garage, in which case the ADU shall not exceed the height of the primary residence or 35 feet, whichever is less. Does that make sense?
Could you make that a little bigger?
Yes.
And that suggestion spells out the process by which an exception to this standard, the pathway to approval for an exception.
Yeah.
And to summarize, we're saying 18 feet is straight up okay. Anything more requires planning commission.
That's what this says.
Yeah.
It could be 20, or it could be a different variation. Yeah.
In all cases, that blue language there is is a very good idea.
Thank you. I think it's important because
I
just
kinda
because
thought
I
it was
see it as
implicit,
an
but-
option, somebody in the future might be like, no, ADU max height is 16 feet.
Right.
So it creates an allowance for somebody to, you know, maybe have a special circumstance to come to the commission in a more definite way.
Yeah, in the way that the Grove Street project, pathway the Grove Street project already took.
Yes.
Because in that proceeding, we had the opportunity to consider its impact on
Yeah.
the context of the neighborhood.
That's what we have.
That's what we did.
Right, and that's that's the current law, the current ordinance.
Well, it's not written in, is what I've discovered.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I ask that at a minimum today, the commission consider making a recommendation to at least add that language.
Right, it's not expressly
So that it's
provided
not
for.
always 16 feet, no matter what.
Okay, I thought, that's why I didn't see it, that it was written in, so.
And to clarify, the action for us today is to tell us.
Yes. So today, from the commission, my request is that you make a recommendation for the city council for consideration of this ordinance change.
Okay.
Another question relating to that is, would we have another opportunity if maybe we requested more information to make a more informed set of recommendations to the city council? Would that have the opportunity to come back to us before sending a recommendation?
Yeah, I'd be happy to bring it back to you in October if that's what's requested.
You essentially continue the item, essentially.
Well, kind of, but
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
more information coming.
Yeah, I mean, that's a reason for continuance, yeah.
Are we discussing it now?
Yeah, sorry, are you done, Preeta?
Yes, thank you. So I think that concludes my presentation. I do believe that the 18 feet would still be very helpful to folks to be able to have a little bit more flexibility considering the slopes that we have here in town and the desire for the buildings that match mother load. And I think that it would be an improvement to our ordinance overall. So I'm open to questions, and thank you very much.
Yeah, so we'll take questions, and then we'll have public comment and then discussion. So, questions from the commission?
I guess of the 5 that have been approved this year-ish, what's the average height? Like, what are people normally going for?
So the way that it typically works is folks come to me and say, I'm thinking about building an ADU, and I give them our application and I tell them how, you know, what the rules are and what the limitations are and what's available to them. And many people, once I tell them the 16-foot height, if they were thinking about a taller building, they say, oh, okay. And then they bring the height down, or they adjust their design to meet that. So remind me what your question was? Like,
What's the average height? And then I guess I have another question. So what's the average height that they end up with? And then what do they really want? When
Yeah.
they then have to take it down to 16 because that's easier.
yeah, well, the only one that I've seen, well, this year that wanted something different was Dave, but then we also have this project where we're going to be doing ADU master plans, and so I've heard from designers about that, the designers that are helping us. So yeah, 16 feet is workable. It's generally works for a flat site just fine, and the ability of having 2 rooms next to each other and having like an open floor plan, I think that requires like a 21 to 24 foot wide minimum building. And so it depends on the variations of the topography and stuff on what houses would have a problem coming in right at that 16 foot. But it's not like I'm getting a lot of applications. It's kind of like looking ahead to hopefully people, if the market calms down and the labor prices come down a little bit and people decide they want to build again, then just sort of being ready for that. Yeah.
Okay. Other questions?
Well, since I've been on the planning commission, which was April, the one instance was, I guess, Dave on Grove Street. And you had mentioned, I think, in your presentation that sometimes the price that an applicant has to pay might be a concern. But could you go a little bit more into that? Because I was, $1,200 to come to the planning commission, and then so they have to pay an additional $600 and some dollars than they would have had to pay just doing it ministerially. So they're paying. That's what they're concerned about. Are people actually concerned about that? And the reason I'm asking is that, looking at the one instance where it did come to us, which was Grove Street, and thinking of the overall cost of that project in most ADU projects, and this is, numbers that I just took out of the ADU guidebook from the county, the price of an ADU, I was sort of shocked actually to see it, but it's pretty high. That price, doesn't sound like it's a disincentive considering the overall price.
Yeah, I think it varies person to person and how some people want to, keep it cheap every step of the way.
Yeah.
And so they would be looking for that, like, oh, well, why would I choose to pay twice as much and have to go to a meeting where I'm going to be told how to build it or how to, what else to do to make it the way that might be different than what I kind of originally wanted. So that sort of intimidation factor of going in front of the commission. And then the timeline as well. That's kind of why the state is, one of the reasons why the state is coming through with these laws is because it's just a known fact that ministerial versus public hearing is a faster review process, right? So it's like with ministerial, we would take in the application, we would review it, circulate it between staff, and then take it to a public hearing. And it'd have to get scheduled on an agenda and come through that way, and then still go to the building department for a 30-day review. So it saves people some time, which, if it's construction season, is important.
Okay. Other questions?
What's the ADU master plan that you're talking about?
So that is a guidebook that was put out by a nonprofit, I believe it's a nonprofit, called Motherlode ADU. Mm-hmm. And they have examples of, it's just informational for folks that want to consider building an ADU. And there's a bunch of good information in there that's not just specific to Nevada County, but other places in the foothills as well. I can share it real quick.
Very nice.
Let's see. Yeah, he's got the guidebook.
Thanks.
Other questions? Tom, any questions?
Just to clarify, you said earlier at the beginning of your presentation that this height limitation of 16 feet can cause unpleasant designs, or I forget exactly what you said, but we do have a minimum roof pitch requirement of 6 and 12.
Yeah.
So it doesn't result in flatter roof pitches, which wouldn't be consistent with the style of architecture predominant around here.
Yeah, but that's going to be, there's going to be that's gonna be kind of the max where people are going, right? So then if somebody had a historic house on the lot that was a 10 and 12, and they wanted to do an 8 and 12 or a 9 and 12, they would not really be able to.
Ministerially.
Correct.
And, excuse me, the 6 and 12 applies to both limitation or minimum applies to both paths. Is that correct?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So if someone was like, oh, well, I found out about your other one, I'll do that, then they could come in with a 3 and 12 or a 2 and 12 or a 4 and 12.
Or 12 and 12?
Or 12 and 12, yeah.
Okay.
But no, they would never meet the height.
They're never at the height, right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I'm curious if there's been any consideration of questioning whether 6 and 12 is the correct minimum pitch, which would help get more footprint.
That is the correct minimum.
I know.
In the standards, yeah.
In our standards, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm curious if the local, like my house is a 1920 miner's cabin, you know, a very poor people house, and its pitch is under 6 and 12. It's 5.5, and if the minimum pitch in the objective design standards was changed, lowered to say 5 or 5.5 or something, you'd get more floor plan out of a 16-foot height limitation, and it would still possibly fit. I'm not suggesting that necessarily, but I just wondered if that had been considered, and I don't know if a steeper pitch is preferable aesthetically.
That's
But I just wondered if that was an item that had been considered.
I didn't consider that because I know that the commission worked hard on the objective design standards, and since those came after the ADU ordinance, I was just looking at it like to change the simple language of the ADU ordinance to be more complementary to the design standards and not the other way around.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
yeah.
Because they are turning out really nice ministerial ADUs. Applying the objective design standards are really creating Nevada city-style architecture without any interference from us or inputs. Okay, that's my question.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess a question for you, Tom. Do you recall the discussion around that time around how that 6 and 12 was determined?
It wasn't a robust conversation. It was kind of accepted fact that 6 and 12 may come from the design guidelines also. I think it might be in the design guidelines.
That sounds,
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just picked out of the air.
yeah, that sounds correct. Bring them up.
Because for the public's information, we are looking for consistency across all of our
Yep.
regulatory sources.
Are there any other questions? So I'm looking for the design guidelines. Nope. If there's no other questions, are there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this item? All right, seeing no one, bring it back to the commission for discussion. Anyone like to start the discussion?
Well, thanks very much for that, your presentation, which I heard it when you gave it to the city council, and this is, it's pretty thorough. Just looking at this, and this is the way I feel, and I did a little sort of walking tour of my neighborhood just to asking people about the issue. And, I mean, we're lucky that we live in the type of community that we live in because we have a pretty well-informed public here. So it actually, I got a lot of response on it. And one thing that was clear, and so I wanted to just emphasize it in terms of myself, that I support us building ADUs in this community, and so do just about everybody I spoke to. And we all recognize that we need more housing, especially for workforce housing. I don't think we need more Airbnb, but more workforce housing. And that's, we're all starting from that position. So the concerns that came up were height, and here it is. I think a lot of people will support like an idea in a general term, but how it impacts them personally, then it might change. And so, people supported the idea, and especially if, explained in the terms that you've explained about the roof pitch and being consistent with Nevada City architecture. But if all of that was 4 feet from their property line, then, that's where people expressed concern about it. So, I know we're not an elected body, but we're appointed by elected people, and that's, I sort of want to bring those concerns up. So far, it's, in terms of what you've said, we haven't had too many, so there's not been, much of a problem. But I guess that's my concern, that in some situations, in some neighborhoods, and I'll take my house for instance, the houses are very close together, and it's a different situation if someone builds a 20-foot ADU than it would be in like the situation on Grove Street, which is a big lot, or in big lots. And then if it becomes simply a ministerial approval, that takes that takes it away from the neighborhood or the neighbors having a say in the matter. So, that's a concern that came up. I just think that, it's not a bad thing to go to the Planning Commission for things that are really important to people, such as on this issue. So I'll stop there.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Who would like to comment next?
Yeah, I'll go. To maybe expand on what Jim has said. Okay, so in these textbook examples you got, and again, like what a great presentation, very graphic, really easy to understand. There are a couple wild cards though in the deck that have to do with slopes, and they can definitely gobble up ridge, maximum ridge height. But another wild card is setbacks in the tighter neighborhoods. Some people's homes have 0 setback to the property line. So to have something like if I had an open view of the field and then there's suddenly a building happening there, well, that's nobody loves that, but it's and I'll I'll second Jim in saying that seems like no one is interested in building rental apartments, and the only workforce housing potential we have to increase in Nevada City is the construction of accessory dwelling units, especially if they are of a scale that would encourage rental to locals. And so it's a good thing to make the path to building those not onerous. But a somewhat limited height, which also I'll go back. Our role is to not advocate just for applicants and make the path easy for them. We're also bearing in mind the impact on specific neighbors, specific neighborhoods, and considering that in making discretionary exceptions to a hard and fast height limit, which if it's reasonable and doesn't disturb a neighborhood too much, then it's an absolute go. And we are very reasonable, and we're pleasant too. We're not awful to applicants. We try very hard to not be scary and represent to them that
Still
we
are.
are members of the community. We are them also. I'm just saying that for the record. So a conservative height limit has mostly created a pathway, like the vast majority, if I can say so far, if I can go so far as to say the vast majority of applications do make it in ministerially, and that's great. And the exceptions are few. So I'm wondering if it is actually broken. Do we need to fix it? Because, as Jim also said, the increased application fee is a pretty small number in the scale of a project, and does take into consideration the overall look of the city and the context of a neighborhood, which is something that we consider very often in architectural review. Yeah, and on that flat lot, the Nimrod Street example that you showed, if he'd gone to 16 feet, he could have gotten 10 more feet of width, maybe. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Didn't do the science, but he could have gotten a much larger if he'd gone to 16 feet. It allows for a pretty large building on a flat lot. Also, regarding slopes, just myself as an example, and there are plenty of them. My next door neighbor, I'm 20 inches from the property line, and my next door neighbor is upslope of me quite a bit. And so a really tall, like over garage unit. But I suppose in this situation, a 35-foot limit wouldn't necessarily apply. But in that case, and I'm not saying that it should be prohibited, but the upstairs unit would be looking down into my kitchen through my skylight, which is, that doesn't affect our discussion, but that's the impacts that a very nearby structure upslope of you can, affect the life, the enjoyment of a person's property, and perhaps their property value. So I don't think, given the frequency of applicants needing to come to us for architectural review for an exception from the objective design standards, is an urgent problem. And I don't necessarily enjoy doing architectural review, but it does provide the opportunity to take into consideration what the needs of a neighborhood is, to kind of keep the character of the city as it is.
Yeah.
Or as much as possible within reason, and allow for these development, infill development.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Sean?
I guess related to that, since you're not expecting a rush of applicants, I mean, I hear you saying the $600 and the time isn't a lot, but money for people, especially young people or people thinking about building for their parents to live, multi-generational housing, I mean, it is tight. So if we're not expecting that we're going to get a rush, why wouldn't we make it a little bit easier for people? And I know housing is an issue in Nevada City, so making the door a little bit easier, a little bit more open, I don't know, it doesn't seem like a bad thing. And, you know, $600 is $600, but that can be a lot for somebody. Even if they're working on a big project like this, there's still budgets. So I think just thinking about the scope of it is important.
Okay. Any other comments? No?
I would like to say, just maybe with tongue somewhat in cheek, that's a bathroom faucet in
Sure,
a lot
yeah.
of projects. And do you have a number of the average cost of an accessory dwelling unit?
Yeah, it's in that particular book, it's $250 to $400 per square foot, is what they put it. So this conservative would be $250 per square foot, and then so you're starting from there. So for like I think you were saying that most of the applications are for houses that are around under 800 square feet, so that they don't have to pay the mitigation fees. So then you're talking at around $200,000 for the, I guess, average cost of one of these ADUs. I mean, if it was me, I wouldn't want to pay the $600. I mean, but we're looking at it from the point of view of doing things that'll actually cause more ADUs to be built. And I don't, think that getting rid of that $600 is going to, all of a sudden, we're going to have more ADUs. So it's kind of a trade-off that people have to pay so that we can have this process, which is just designed to meet what people's expectations are in this community for keeping it a certain way.
So I'll add my comments at this point. I am sympathetic to, the argument to save money. I think, in general, we all care about $600, and none of us is going to like to have to give up $600 out of our pocket. I'm also sympathetic to the argument about time. The time to go through an entire process is lengthened by a number of weeks if folks have to come to the Planning Commission. Again, none of these things are necessarily showstoppers in any particular case, but I think these and other requirements that we have as governmental entities essentially are, all factors that play into the development and do add up over time and in the aggregate. I had sort of looked at this when I read it for the first time as a way to provide some more flexibility in allowing potentially better adherence to the mother-lode style of architecture. And I think that my consideration was, in addition to all the things that have been discussed here, it would be one thing if we just added 4 feet straight onto the building and it went up 4 feet and you just had 4 feet more of wall. If on the other hand, if it were that 4 feet were to go into allowing a roof to go from 6 to 12 to 10 and 12 or something like that, which depending on the context in which the building is being constructed, could provide more congruity with the neighborhood, I think that's a benefit as well. I think we're encouraging people, therefore, to consider their surroundings, consider fitting into the neighborhood better, and allowing them to do that without coming to us. And they're more likely to do that if they don't have to come to us. So my thought was that if, and one more point, also if it's, on a roof, which is necessarily, set back at a pitch, there's still impact to neighbors, but it is less so than a wall right up against the adjacent lot or something like that. So my thought was that putting some requirement in here to allow that extra height if essentially it goes into a roof would be a beneficial change. To say that, up to, X feet is allowed if it is, if we can decide whether it's, 18 or 20, but if allowing more than the 16 is allowed if you are using a roof pitch of, I don't know, it would be one more in 12, per additional foot or something like that of height. So that was my thought.
12 or greater.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, what do I want to say? I don't want somebody to go up to 20 feet and then just go to 6.5 and 12, right?
Yeah.
I want them to go up to, and I'm trying to think through the math or the triangular geometry in this case, right? But essentially, yeah, I guess it's really, if each of those, I guess it's just one for one. You can have one additional foot of maximum height for each additional foot in 12, in excess of 6 and 12. That would be my proposed change to this. I'll throw that out there for contemplation by the commission.
I was thinking about something similar to that as well, but I wondered how that would work from the planning department's point of view. You can have more height if you spend it on an increased roof pitch, if that's consistent with it, if that makes your ADU more architecturally consistent with the main house, say, or with the predominant style of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I would, rather than try to get into the judgment of conformity with the neighborhood, I would just allow it. And
Yes, I just,
Yeah.
I
I know
tend
what
to
you're
use
saying.
maybe more words than are necessary.
Yeah, okay.
Share
I
Brown.
definitely thought about that and how it could be written, and I was thinking, let's see, let me just share this. It could be something to the effect of accessory dwelling unit shall not exceed 16 feet in height, not to exceed the height of the primary residence, or 16 feet in height unless a roof pitch of 8 and 12 is desired by the applicant, or something like that. And then in parentheses, not to exceed the height of the primary residence. Or it could say, not to exceed 16 feet in height unless a roof pitch of 8 and 12 or greater is desired, in which case 18 feet. And then in parentheses, not to exceed the height of the primary residence. And still keep in the part, unless approved by the planning commission or constructed over a garage.
I think something like that.
Up to 18 feet
If the steeper pitch.
is desired. Yeah, you said it good.
Yeah. Are there
Is
comments on
that,
that?
sorry,
Sure.
just to keep a cap, like a tighter cap on how tall it is, including the roof pitch?
Yes.
Is that, okay, yeah, I see that.
We're talking total height, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Based on all the stem wall measurements and all
Yeah,
that too,
yeah,
that Lisa explained earlier.
Right, because that can really make it challenging.
It can. It can. So, and that is And I will acknowledge that what I just said does not make, any stem wall considerations any easier, right? We're just saying it all goes into the roof.
That's true.
And I thought about, how could you, try to put something in for stem walls. I look at my house, and the front is on one level, and the bottom is the back of the house is a full story below the front of the house, so I've pretty much got big calculation there.
Design challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah, that occurred to me as well, but from a regulatory standpoint, the
gets
the height that mostly matters is the stem wall height in relation to the neighborhood. And so, but it may not, the stem wall height, like the lowest stem wall height might be a real problem if that height was biased in a way against a neighbor. Like it'd be hard to really change the measurement, the median stem wall height. It'd be really hard to work with that.
Yeah, and then somebody wouldn't build.
Yeah,
Right, they'd
because
be like,
like it's very situational.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what I sort of
Yeah.
gave up on, trying to engineer that math and in some language to do that, because I think it's too,
Yeah, it's
Case by
too much
case.
of a geometry problem.
yeah.
Right, for everyone, for
Yeah.
the applicant, an architect, for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather people come to it if they have that issue and they want
Mm-hmm.
to discuss it with us. And I guess the last comment I want to make too, I appreciate, Lisa, your efforts to simplify things for applicants in general. I would love to see us do more of this across our code. An example that I thought of a lot of times, every time we get a tree removal permit that has to do with, some invasive species or things like that, that we pretty much automatically approve. I'd love to see improvements to our code as well that cover those things. So thank you for looking at these things.
Yeah, you'll see in the whereases, in the language of the ordinance change, that Sean helped me write this because he does the whereas stuff much better than I do. A big part of it is the pre-approved ADU plans that we're working on. So once I was in the sort of quasi seat of trying to design ADUs or start to think about that, it became very clear the constraints. So at least if you're going for the more charming 8 and 12.
Which page are you on?
So the whereases are on page 37.
30, okay.
So whereas utilizing city council authorized grant funds, the city has released a request for proposal for the professional service for pre-approved ADU plans. And then we're going to hire a consultant to help us with that. And then whereas implementing the pre-approved ADU plans with existing limitations on height would necessitate plan creation of narrow elongated ADUs that would be inconsistent with Motherlode and Nevada City style architecture. And whereas, and then it references the objective design standards. So, yeah, and part of it comes from designers who do desire more flexibility.
The change the adjustment you propose, that I like too, actually doesn't do anything to make a 6 and 12 pitched building on a 5-foot median stem wall height. It doesn't help that
It does not help.
It doesn't help
It
that.
doesn't help
So in
that.
that case, it would be 16 foot on a 5-foot slope would be max width of 16 feet for a 6 and 12. Actually, sorry, that's for a 4-foot slope, 12 foot. Let me make sure I'm on the right one here. Yeah. So we'd still have this sort of, skinnier backyard building if built on a slope, if we keep the 16 feet, even with the 6 and 12.
But to some extent, that's probably again, considering neighborhood context, as Tom was talking about, those are the ones that are probably going to most concern the neighbors, because if you're in back, it's going to look the most tall.
And if it was a neighborhood where they didn't have neighbors, close to their setbacks, then they could always come to the commission.
Yep,
and
they could.
show the site constraints and
Yep.
receive their approval that way.
And a 20-foot height or a 22-foot height even in consideration of the slope might be quite fine.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay,
So were you proposing 18 or 20? I think 18 was the word you put up there.
I think either would be a big improvement. I can show that again. I'm getting an overall sense that the commission wants to not go all out in the allowance here and play it a little safer, since we don't know, every result that might come through. So, yeah, I think 18 feet would still be a big improvement. Let's see.
Can you put up those,
Yes, let's see.
and I guess we would add the words, had what you had before, but adding the 8 and 12.
Okay, so do you want me to go through the images one more time, or just go straight to the words?
Just go straight to the words,
Okay.
yeah.
So accessory dwelling units shall not exceed 16 feet in height or 18 feet in height, 18 feet if a roof pitch of 8 and 12 or greater is desired, not to exceed the height of the primary residence unless approved by the planning commission or constructed over a garage, in which case the ADU shall not exceed the height of the primary residence or 35 feet, whichever is less.
But that's an ADU that's over the garage.
Yeah, this
There.
second part is.
The current, sorry, what's the current standard, though? It's
The
25,
current is,
isn't it?
I'm gonna have to check that.
It's already an imposing building.
Yeah, so yeah,
Not
that was
sure why the
25.
red line didn't come through.
because that would be my thing. What is the comparable words that we would want to put on the 35 feet?
I don't understand the above garage existing standard versus the proposed standard, because I understood it to be an increase of 10 feet from 25 to 35, but I may have read that wrong.
The way it currently reads is accessory dwelling units shall not exceed 16 feet in height unless constructed over a garage, in which case the ADU shall not exceed the height of the primary residence or 35 feet.
So it's currently 35
It
feet.
is currently 35 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're
So
not.
maybe the only change there was the addition of that language for not to exceed, or whichever is less.
Okay. So we're not touching that part, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I
Just-
think it's
just
just
cleaning it up
because,
so it
I think
doesn't-
it's just because we spelled it out.
Yeah. Oh, I
35
see.
feet.
Yeah.
See? And then, so that's part of it, and then the other is at the beginning of the ordinance here, where it references multifamily residential dwellings. So to be consistent,
But comparable language there.
comparable language. So that should be fine, and then,
20 or was it 18?
18.
Yes, she's going to change.
She's going to change it to
Change it.
18.
Yeah.
You just
And
weren't
then-
changing it on your shared screen.
Right, and then I'll share one more thing with you here.
We lost your screen sharing though.
The, so this is from section 1772.022. And the change there is to add that the objective design standards are required and should be applied for ADUs. So, any application for ADU unit that meets the unit size standards and development standards contained in section 1772.024 and 1772.026, or is the type of accessory dwelling unit described in section 1772.027, shall be approved ministerially by the city planner by applying the standards herein and the standards of chapter 17.82 of this code and without a public hearing.
Did you follow all that?
So-
Basically, you're saying that the standards that we just discussed apply. If I-
No, this is saying that the objective design standards apply.
Okay, yeah. But we're making this essentially part of the objective design standards, right?
Yeah, we're adding this to the introduction of the ADU ordinance to make
Okay.
it stronger, to point to those. Because it doesn't currently read that those objective design standards are related to the ADUs.
Oh, okay.
So somebody could
This sounds
use
like
it in a
good.
way of like,
It sounds like a
well,
good catch.
Yeah.
Some housekeeping.
Yeah.
So there may be a little bit of tweaking here because I am reading that it includes 17.72.027, which is that SB 9 law that may not be subject, that I don't believe is subject to our objective standards. So we might have to,
I would like you to double check that because I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that it does. I think that it does.
okay, I'll work with Russ further on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my understanding at the time that the city ordinance that encompassed SB 9, because we were required to pass it, to create an ordinance which
That had objective designs.
that included
Yep.
SB 9. It
That was
doesn't
my
have to have, didn't have to have objective design standards, but could.
Yeah.
The law allowed for us to do that.
That was my understanding.
Easy for
as
me
well.
to say. I have just a.
Go ahead.
Just a question about the change we made regarding roof pitch. It seems as we've modified it to say an 8 and 12 pitch or greater.
Can have an 18-foot high building, so 2 feet higher.
Right. If the additional height is used to increase roof pitch, might be a more easily applicable term, unless I'm,
If you just said increase, to me, that means you could go to 6.5 or something like that.
yeah,
That's what I thought, putting a number there, because we want all of the increased height to go into.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. An 8 and 12 is a common local.
Yeah,
Pitch.
before we're essentially adding 2 feet onto the maximum height. And so going from 6 and 12 to 8 and 12, make sure that 2 feet all goes into the roof, was my thought.
That's robust, okay.
So,
I retract my reservation.
is there any other discussion? If not, I will make a motion.
No.
Okay, I will move that we recommend to the city council the ordinance changes as discussed, including the 18-foot limit and the requirement that that only be used with an 8 and 12 or greater pitch as outlined by Lisa in the markup. Go ahead. Do you wanna add?
And the inclusion of language that directs,
Oh, the use of the objective design standards.
that
And the planning commission.
directs the planning commission
Oh, yeah.
approval of exceptions to,
Yeah.
Yes,
That's good.
and that.
Thank
worded
you.
it so good.
That's all right, together
I'm
we're.
I'm sure Lisa can do better than that.
No, you did fine. Russ, any ads for us? Is he still with us?
Yes.
Don't hear him saying yes.
Okay.
He's there. He's coming up.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Simmons?
Aye.
Commissioner Nye?
Aye, or yes?
Commissioner Tommy?
Yes.
And Chair Brown?
Yes. All right, great. It was a long discussion, but I think it was good. And thanks to the patience of all the folks waiting to discuss their items. With that, let's go on to the next one. And go back up. All right, now we're at the 400 South Pine Street demolition application for full removable building garage. Come up to the table, please. And I need to recuse myself due to proximity of my residence. So.
Okay, thank you, Rod. Hello.
Hi.
Commissioner Nye, would you like me to introduce this item?
Yes, thanks. I've forgotten how to chair. Yeah, please introduce the item, Lisa.
Okay. The application here today for 400 South Pine is for a demolition application for a garage. The garage doesn't face South Pine Street, it faces Gethsemane?
Cross.
Cross Street, thank you. In your staff report, you'll see photos of the existing structure, which shows that the condition of it is in severe disrepair. It has come off of the footings on the rear side. It was held up by some trees, and then those trees were removed. So it has become in more of a hazardous condition. The original request was to attempt to rebuild and stabilize the building, but upon further investigation, the homeowner does not wish to do that and does wish to just demolish the building, and then hopes to come through with an application for a new build within the allowable build period for his grandfathered rights, or maybe an ADU.
After that discussion, yeah.
So you'll see a recommended motion in your staff report, and anything you'd like to add?
I think that pretty much covers it. It's, I think no matter what we do need to move the building, whether it's an ADU or just rebuilding the garage as is, to a better position. It is actually over the property line right now. It would need to be moved away from the property line to make that make sense, but then the setback from the street would require a variance, and even just to rebuild it in the same footprint or the same general size. So I don't know if I need to request that variance now, or if that would go when I reapply for architectural review.
Yeah, so for an ADU, you would be eligible for a reduced setback, likely, so that could be up to 4 feet from the property line. So,
But still, if I go just 4 feet from the property line, I'm still encroaching into the right-of-way for the street, right? So that encroaches on, so if I move parallel to Cross Street, away from Councilman Cece's house, which is right next to, or his garage, which is right next to our garage, then the new portion of it would be encroaching into the state right-of-way. That, I would assume, would require a variance from the planning commission.
Yeah. So that
Whether
could-
we need to deal with that now or at a future date, that's,
Yeah, that would require an application and then a separate public hearing.
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to take it down.
Questions?
Yeah, are there any questions from the commission for the applicant or for Lisa?
I have a question, and the original date of construction indicates that it's 1865?
That's the house itself.
That's the house, okay.
So
and-
that building, we're not quite sure when it was built. It is balloon framed. It's most certainly mother lode. On the 1889 map, there is a structure showing there. Think it says it's some sort of fire
Hose house.
hose house of some sort. I was told once that it might have been a stable used for the fire crew, but it's definitely old. It's balloon framed, dimensional lumber. It's probably older than everything else that's around it.
So originally, you were looking at repairing it. I think you indicated in your,
It would have been nice, but looking at it closer with a friend of mine who's a contractor, we just started running some numbers, and it's like, yeah, we probably could do it, but the amount, it just wouldn't be financially prudent.
Is that it? Oh,
that's it for now.
okay. Do you have a
I don't
question?
have any questions.
Actually, one other question is, there's a dumpster that's like next to it?
No, there's a container.
Oh, container, excuse me. Used the wrong. So there's a container next to it, is that for, was that put there for the construction process, or?
That was put there to put materials from that structure and some other construction materials that we had previously taken off of our house, which we remodeled about 17, 18 years ago now. So there's a lot of construction materials in there. I would probably take a lot of the construction materials that would come off of this building, because I wouldn't want to just demolish it. I would want to dismantle it. I'd like to stabilize it, put up some bracing, and reuse as much material as possible, if possible. I mean, a lot of it would have to be trimmed, so it would make the building shorter. It's currently board and batten with old, probably sugar pine, 14-inch wide boards. It would probably have to become a more of a traditional modern board and batten after that, but it would be nice to reuse as much as possible.
So the little picture that you have in there is actually not really pertinent to our discussion, because it's not I think you had a little picture of a garage that you were considering building.
The drawing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It would basically be the same thing. I would probably look at changing it slightly, maybe increasing. Apparently, I can do an allowable 20% increase in footprint, but I don't know how that honestly necessarily applies, considering it would have to move. If it moves, then I guess the bets are kind of off in that respect as well. But I would think I would like to update it a little bit to give it a little bit more space around if you're putting vehicles in there, or if I have it, only put one vehicle in and maybe make it a little bit deeper, so there's just a little bit more space around it. But I'm not really looking to change it significantly.
Sorry, just process-wise, you're asking us to approve just a demolition today, right? And then your hope is to restore, use some of the reclaimed wood from it, materials from it?
Correct.
And you'll bring that at a later time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to obviously have some plans
Yeah.
drawn up and go through the process with you all.
A question about the storage box there, that container essentially. Is there some regulatory consideration for the how long those can be used, or if they need to be considered as an accessory structure or a shed?
That's a good question. I've looked into containers in our code before, and we don't have anything for them. So it could be considered a shed, I suppose.
And are you considering because it has an effect on the aesthetic of the neighborhood? I'm just wondering if you're considering keeping that shed in place as long as like permanent storage?
No. Once the garage is rebuilt, anything that would be in that container I brought the container in a number of years ago when the garage first fell off its piers. I put it back up on its piers subsequently, but I needed to unload. So I have tools, I have lumber, that was all stored in that garage.
In the garage,
Yeah, so almost everything that is inside that container would go back into the garage.
Right. And so you wouldn't be seeking to keep it there after that construction?
No, I'd be glad to be rid of it.
Then on page, let's see, on page 50 of the PDF, there's a drawing kind of that shows your house on Pine, right? And then a shed maybe behind it. And does this show my question is, if you built a new garage or whatever structure there, would it fit within current setback requirements? Because I'm kind of confused as to where the lot lines are. There's two drawings. There's the
Yeah, it's not the most like
1898 map.
scaled in site plan, so it's kind of hard to tell. He would probably need to get a survey to see where that right of way is.
I'm just
But
curious.
this, I think what he's trying to show here is that the building won't be set right on this property line, that it'll be jogged over here and then expanded in this direction, is his
Yeah,
hope.
I'm proposing 6 feet off the property line there. And I would probably maybe give it a foot one way, a foot another direction, just to give a little bit more space around it.
But
than what the current
it'll,
footprint is.
sorry to interrupt, but it'll fit, like a garage, a two-car garage would fit within his current law. I'm just curious.
What are standard setbacks from property lines?
Garage, or yeah, like,
Fine.
well, the standard setback is 25 feet from the rear property line.
From the rear property line,
Mhm.
it would require a variance. From the side, neighboring dwellings, what is that?
5 feet.
5 feet, it would fit fine, yeah. From the street, it would definitely require a variance, because from, I don't know exactly where the street and the property line is. It's about 10 feet off the street right now, off the pavement, but, where the actual line is would require a survey.
I guess we would cross that bridge when we came to it. Okay, are there any other questions? So this is time for public comment for this agenda item, if anybody is here. Seeing none, no public comment, so we can move on to commission discussion to ruminate on the information we have received.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad that you made an effort and to keep the building and are thinking ahead, towards incorporating some of what's left of it into the new structure. I mean, I think all of us that live here really appreciate these old structures and sheds, and I don't think we like having an inventory of them for the town. But there's less and less of them every year, and then each time one goes away, we do lose something of what we all love about the city. But I did go visit the site, and I actually have a shed on my property that I thought was like the worst shed ever, and
I beat you, didn't I?
I was actually wrong. So,
Well, congrats.
So, I mean, I see your point about that, and that's kind of my take on it. I'm glad. I think that going forward if we approve the demolition, that we should maybe tie it to what you indicated that you're going to do, and then also the issue of the container, which would be nice to have that taken away. That's all.
Well, I'll just say, I think it's really great that you're trying to reuse some of the materials from it. I think that helps keep a piece of the history alive, so.
It'd be nice, I mean, honestly, it would have been nice to just get it back to where it was. But if you looked at the photos, you saw those two great big huge tree stumps. Those were large cedars that were growing on two corners of the building that were just pinning it in, allowing you to do basically nothing to it. One of the trees, I counted the rings, it was over 75 years old. The other one was about 100 years old. And so, unfortunately, somebody, over a century ago, allowed a couple trees to grow in very bad places. When we moved in, they were already, 75 and 50 years old, so it was a little bit too far gone for us to actually do anything with them, unfortunately. And so trying to save it kind of became a lost cause for us, unfortunately.
I'll say that it's very easy to see that it'd be really impractical to try and save this structure, and its location is really unfortunate from a fire safety standpoint, just right adjacent to the Councilmember Cece's house there on garage. I'm in support of demolition, and save as much original fabric as you can, because it's interesting stuff. We often, in a historic building where a full demolition is requested, we tie that to a proposed design for replacement structure, so that the historic context of the neighborhood is preserved somewhat, but you don't have budget currently, you don't have a plan currently, the building is unsafe. It appears unsafe.
Well, yeah, what started this was Chief Foss coming by with code compliance to say, yeah, either you deal with it or we're going to red tag it.
Right. So I would be in support of a demolition and just, believe that you would like to build something historically, say, complementary or comparable or in the same spirit. And then we'll cross that bridge and whatever variance requests you have, we'll consider them when that comes up. Ask that at the end of construction that this isn't binding, but at the end of construction that the container would be removed once it became unnecessary. But I would, so is there any other discussion?
Can we, I know a plan hasn't been submitted for the new structure, but can we indicate it as a condition, demolition, and then a condition that the new structure, when the plan comes from the applicant, adheres to what he's indicated, that he'll use as much of the old materials as possible and see to it that the style of the new structure is close to the style of the old structure.
Yes, it's written in your staff report, that's directly out of the code actually, is that the Planning Commission, as a condition of granting the demolition, may require, if the building is a mother lode architecture style building, the commission may require the replacement building to reflect the style and character of the building being demolished, and the Planning Commission may require that the demolition application be accompanied by architectural plans and details for the proposed replacement structure. So since there's a hazardous condition present and the building should come down, we probably shouldn't require him to provide plans before the demo permit is
Right, okay.
approved. But if you wanted to get creative about a different way of saying it, you could. Of saying a future application,
Yes.
yeah.
I think the first set of conditions that you mentioned, short of requiring plans, it's in the code, we can do that. It sounds like that's very much your intent. So,
Yeah, and then I also would like to point out that there's two other conditions that when somebody makes a motion to please say we approve the project as conditioned. Those two conditions are that the applicant obtains a building permit from Nevada County Building Department for the demolition, and that would allow for an inspection after the building is brought down. And then also timely removal of the building is needed in coordination with Nevada City's code enforcement officers. Required performance measures and associated timelines will be developed and provided by Police Chief Dan Foss. So those will be coming.
Okay,
I
those
didn't-
are up in the air at this point. Any ideas on what
I
that
think that he'll
timeframe might
be
be?
looking for a timeline from you if you could propose something,
Oh.
something reasonable. Obviously,
Okay.
before the winds and the rain starts.
Could
Wind
be
can
next
actually
week.
take a building down. Yeah.
do you have suggested language for conditioning the demolition of a mother lode historic structure to a requirement that the replacement structure resemble in
Well, let's look at it
general
here.
detail and character?
You could say something like, the replacement building should reflect the character of the original building with a similar roof pitch. And I don't know if you would want to say something about size or siding type or door style or anything, but
Yes, siding treatment, and I think that's what you're already after, a board and batten look. And maybe in a fire-resistant material. Or not, but we are, let's see, allowing that outside the historic district, and it's maybe a responsible thing to do.
Yeah, we'll see what the county says as well. I mean, building codes these days, if it's going to be a new structure, going to have to adhere to, I mean, taking it, you know, part of not wanting to take it all the way down to the ground and rehab the building would be that you would be grandfathered in and not have to follow certain
Right.
modern,
Except for its unfortunate location.
yes, yeah. But, yeah, I would think going through the county for a building permit, they're going to require certain materials be used, or else I won't be allowed to build it, honestly.
So that language is in there. The replacement structure shall be of a similar style, proportion, and siding treatment.
Would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this demolition. I'm looking for the conditions of approval. Where is that?
Page
You could say
46.
subject to the conditions of approval in the staff report.
Subject to the conditions of approval in the staff report. And how do I include that, Lisa?
And that a replacement building that would come through in a future application be similar in style, proportion, and with a similar siding treatment.
Consider that my motion.
And the other, with the removal of the container upon, I guess, completion of the,
Completion of construction.
yeah.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Commissioner Nye,
Yes.
Commissioner Harami.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thank you all.
Go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Should we go get Brown?
Yes, oh, he's coming.
Okay.
Okay, so the applicant for 110 Red Bud Way is not able to join the meeting today, so he requested that he be on the October agenda, so we won't be doing that item. So that would bring us to Nicole Conley's application, I believe. Let's see here. Yes. Would you like me to
Okay,
introduce?
please do.
Okay. Hi, welcome.
Perfect timing.
Okay,
Yes,
hopefully
please.
this one will go quickly. So this is for 409 Factory Street. Nicole came to the commission earlier this year in May for approval of 2 dormers for the upstairs of the home. Unfortunately, upon further design and engineering, it became financially infeasible or not really
Prohibitive is.
prohibitive, yeah, to build those dormers. So Nicole is requesting an alternative, which is skylights in that upstairs room. So the request is for 6 skylights, and the plans are in your staff report. There's let me just pull my rendering up here. There's 2 on the left elevation and then 4 on the right elevation. And the style is a Velux brand, and the color is, let me just jump to that here. The color is the silver matte, which is complementary to the gray roof that's on the building. And they are proposed to open just one way, and the model is clouded for you in the application. Anything to add?
Just that, the dormers were my dream and what I wanted, but yeah, the engineering to take the old miner shack and put another additional weight on the top floor just was going to end up with the whole house being basically torn down to the studs again. The house was already torn down to the studs in 2018, and it just seemed impractical. So making the most of a beautiful piece of property here in town and trying to get the views off the west side specifically, looking out into the ravine is the goal here.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the commission? Anyone have any questions?
Now, just the color would match the roof, is it, yeah?
Yeah, the exterior roof is a silver color, metal. It's not corrugated, I've been told, but it's a metal roof and it's silver. And yes, the skylights will match that, so it's as seamless as possible.
Okay, Tom?
No, I don't have any questions.
All right, Jim, any questions?
No, I don't think I have any questions either.
Okay.
Okay, I don't have any questions. Anybody in the public like to, no, nobody in the public would like to comment, so open up to discussion. Any discussion from the commission?
Skylights sound nice.
It's too bad you can't do the dormers, but
Yeah.
cost is a factor.
I like the dormers.
I did too, I did too. But,
I know you did, you wouldn't have come to us otherwise.
No, I went and saw engineers after seeing you guys, and that's when it became,
Yeah,
my eyes bulged out of my head a little bit.
I understand.
And I want to be able to live in the house while this is happening, and that also became totally impossible as well, so.
Yeah. Any discussion?
I found something in the design guidelines that actually references skylights. Now, of course, I can't find it. But it just indicates that, that they not be obtrusive and that,
It says new roof, it's solar panels / skylights, new roof features should be visually minimized when viewed from the primary right of way.
yes, there you
That's
go.
what it says, yeah.
Yeah. So checking out the surrounding area, I didn't see too many skylights, but I saw a ton of solar.
Yeah.
Which is much more obtrusive if you were getting nitpicky about it, but
Yeah.
it looks good.
Okay. There's a very cute house on Grove Street that has skylights and solar on it, and it's right there, just yonder, and it looks great. I mean, it's making, and the architecture of my house and that house are almost identical, so it gave me hope that I can still preserve the appearance of the house, but also make it very usable.
Great. If there's no other discussion?
Only like, I'm disappointed that you couldn't do this, the dormers, because the house is it's so nice, and it does present quite a public face on the elevation that would have the larger number of skylights. And skylights are really modern, especially in a standing seam roof. It's very modern, and it's quite a departure from the architecture itself.
Yeah. There are skylights in the house across the ravine from me, over on Wyoming Street. That is an old building as well. It's not in the historic district, so I don't want to negate the point, but it is right across the street, and they have 2 skylights on the top of their metal corrugated roof. And agreed, it's not a perfect match, but as someone who views their house, and probably the only person who views their house, it does not bother me whatsoever. In fact, I've been up there, and the skylights really add and make that top loft of that house usable.
Yeah, those are my comments, and I understand the engineering, the onerousness of the engineering thing. It's a lot. Just torn, because I love that house. I want it, but that's not my official position.
It was for sale.
I know.
She got it.
She beat you to it.
Right. I already own one, so I can't have two. And Jim's point, we can't, like, solar panels are so modern and really ugly, and they're great, they're great for their functionality, and we don't deny them. I think with a heavy heart, I would be inclined to approve your application for skylights, because it helps if they're in the colorway of the roofing material to the maximum degree possible. And yeah, those are my comments. I'm just talking. It doesn't make any difference, but I get it.
All right. Any other comments? No. If so, someone like to make a motion?
I can make the motion. Let me just find it. Here. Whoops. What page? is it?
106.
106? Okay. I make a motion to approve the architectural review application, making the following findings pursuant to section 17-88-4040 of the City Municipal Code. One, that the proposed residential structure is generally compatible with mother lode style architecture and with the historical district. Should I say the proposed skylight addition instead of residential structure?
Sure.
The proposed skylight addition, and that the proposed skylight addition is compatible within the context of the surrounding neighborhood.
I think there's,
The recommended conditions of approval
yes, you could just say subject to the conditions of approval.
and subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
I'll second that. All right.
Commissioner Simmons?
Yes.
Commissioner Nye?
I will abstain.
Okay.
Commissioner Hadamy?
Yes.
And Chair Brown?
Yes. All right. Passes. Great. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. On to the next item, which is 508 Zion Street Architectural Review for new siding, windows, and roof. Yeah, please come up to the table.
Thank you for your patience.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
No problem.
I hope you got something out of,
Yeah, it was a lively discussion with the ADUs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see my email this morning saying that it might be a little while to get to your item?
No, but that's okay.
Okay.
It was good. I learned about the SB, what is that, SB9?
SB9,
So,
SB9.
which I didn't realize. I'll check that out.
it's very invasive.
Don't check it out.
All right, Lisa, please present this item.
Okay, so with us today is Steve Mueller, contractor for the project at 598 Zion Street. Before you is a request for architectural review for siding, windows, and roof replacement. Demolition is included with this application as more than 25% of the materials are being replaced. The proposal is for James Hardy siding in a board and bat style. And the bats are about 2 or 3 inches wide. And then the windows are Anlin from the Catalina series. The roof is just a standard shingle asphalt roof. And the request is partially to match the existing garage. The garage has the same or similar board and bat style. You'll see that the house in its current condition has vinyl siding, and it's a little bit of a hodgepodge on the front there. There's like some plywood. So the colors will remain the same. And I think that's all I have. There's a few conditions in there regarding a building permit and compliance with the application with the final permit drawings. And yeah, open to any questions.
Yeah, anything you'd like to add to what Lisa said?
So one of the precipices that started this is we had a floor inside a existing bathroom that was really spongy. So when we opened it up, we realized that all of the flashing around the window had failed. And so the plywood that you see on there is everything that had to be demoed because it was all rotten in that side of the building.
Okay.
So, and then that led us into investigating other windows and siding areas and realizing that it really should be just all taken care of.
Great, thank you. All right, questions from the commission?
So the vinyl just wasn't a good, it wasn't a good flashing job between the vinyl siding.
I don't know how old the vinyl was,
Right.
right? So I don't know how long that type of product typically will hold up, so.
Right. Or the leaking was occurring before the vinyl was applied.
Yeah, well, and then it also has aluminum windows, so any kind of windows that were there got traded out at some point. And so that could introduce where it necessarily wasn't a flashing issue with the vinyl siding, but a flashing issue with the windows.
Are the windows that you're proposing, let's see, do they match the garage? Are there,
Yeah.
It's a matching style?
Yeah.
And the battens on the siding would be 16 on center, pretty much nailed
Probably
over studs?
16 on center.
Yeah. The garage is really cute.
Yeah. It's nice.
It's kind of old timey.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my questions.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else have any questions?
The garden window is the only one that survived?
It is.
Yeah, is that this one that pops out?
Yeah.
What is considered, yeah, okay.
Okay, anyone else? Jim?
I don't think so, no.
All right, no other questions. There's no public here for discussion, so, or for comments, so bring it back to the commission for discussion.
I'm actually going to ask another question. You didn't mention the roof overhang soffit treatment. It looks like that's
It's vinyl as well.
vinyl, and so you'll change that, and what will that overhang treatment, the soffit, be?
We really hadn't addressed that. I don't know if we would leave it open as an open rafter tail, or we would close it as a soffit. Originally, we had talked to the owner about just having it open.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know once we get up there, what the
Yeah.
ends of the soffits look like, so.
Yeah. Yeah, an open soffit's a more historic treatment, though,
Right.
can lead to concerns about combustibility.
Fire infiltration.
Yeah. Okay, just curious. Thanks.
Sure.
Any discussion?
Yep. Jim?
I don't think so.
Okay. Looks like an improvement to me.
Anything?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
All right. Do we have a motion then?
I move we approve this project as presented, and there are conditions of approval someplace. Mashan, where are the conditions?
I
of
don't,
approval?
I,
You've been good at tracking it.
Expert, the page
Okay, on
expert.
page
Yeah.
118.
Oh, thank you.
118.
Stand by. Yeah, okay, so it's actually page 120 of my,
You could just say subject to the conditions of approval.
yes.
Oh, you're trying to make the findings?
Yeah, I approve this demolition and siding replacement, window replacement, roof replacement, making the finding one, that the proposed exterior alteration is generally compatible with Nevada City-style architecture, and two, that the proposed exterior alteration is compatible with the context of the surrounding neighborhood.
And subject to the recommended conditions.
Subject to the recommended conditions.
All right.
Having a tongue problem.
I will second that.
Okay.
Commissioner Thurman,
Yes.
Commissioner Nye,
Yes.
Commissioner Hadamy,
Yes.
and Chair Brown.
Yes. Great.
Wonderful.
Approved.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I was thinking about your ADU discussion with the heights and stuff. One thing that I realized after we closed the discussion was it seems like there was a width that you guys were really trying to, like the sweet spot, with the width of a building with the height of the roof. And so I don't know if you could add to a slope condition for lots that would allow for your sweet spot and the width of the building and the height of the roof, and that kind of drive your height discussion. So just a comment.
Okay, thank you.
It was a good discussion.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that is it, unless you have any.
Next meeting, October
Announcements.
16th. We had our open space workshop on Tuesday this week. We had good attendance by community members. And just a reminder, we have our survey for that. It's open until October 7th. So please share it with your friends and neighbors and take the survey yourself. Tell us what's important to you regarding parks, recreation, trails, and open space.
All right, great. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
With that, we're adjourned.